modern medical practice enlists the aid of vaccines, medicines, and drugs. The science of preparing and dispensing these medicines and drugs is called pharmacy. And the key figure in this profession is the highly trained, registered pharmacist.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining me on the very first episode of Pharmacast with Pindy, your prescription for the latest info in pharmacy. On this series, we'll be tackling the evolving role of community pharmacists and the opportunity that comes with that evolution. I'm Pindy Janda, a pharmacist, an advocate, and the Director of Procurement at Imperial Distributors Canada, Inc., and I'll be your host.
The World Health Organization has officially called it the coronavirus, COVID-19.
It's no secret that the pandemic has had a seismic impact on our lives and the way that we seek healthcare advice. Local pharmacies seized the opportunity, stepped up to the plate, and to date administered a record number of vaccinations to the Canadian public. We were also in the front lines, dispensing and conducting massive numbers of COVID-19 tests. But how exactly has this virus shifted the average Canadian's perception of community pharmacists and the role that they play in healthcare?
We got direct distribution of vaccines, which we had been fighting for a decade.
Helping me unpack all of this is Geraldine Vance, CEO of the B.Sc Pharmacy Association. For those of you who may not be aware, Geraldine started out her career as a journalist and later worked in not one, but two premier offices in Saskatchewan and B.C. From there, she made the leap over to healthcare, working 10 years in advocacy and government affairs for the B.C Medical Association, and now in her current role as our leader at the B.C Pharmacy Association. Welcome, Geraldine. I appreciate you making the time. So let's just dive right into it. I don't think we can talk about pharmacists without bringing up COVID. It was a game changer.
6 months ago, none of us could have imagined how our world would be thrown into turmoil by this new virus.
So what's the first thing that comes to mind when you think about how COVID impacted community pharmacists and what our role was?
I think first and foremost, it's hard not to be exceedingly proud of pharmacists. We were in lockdown. They were an essential service. You went into your pharmacy. They were hanging shower curtains and plexiglass. They made it work. And so first off the top, I think about great sense of pride and a demonstration of commitment by the profession. I also think about the huge opportunity for pharmacists to show what they do to many more people, to be that resource that they have always been, but that people have sometimes not seen.
So that actually takes me to the next point that I was hoping we could reflect on was how do you think that we showed our worth and we stepped up to the opportunity?
I think that it was a great struggle for patients out of the gate. They didn't know what was happening. None of us knew what was happening from 1 minute to the next. And suddenly, patients who had depended on going into the doctor's office, having a conversation at the very time in which they would have wanted that to happen, it couldn't happen. Doctors were at home too. And so where did they go? Many of them went to their pharmacist, their port of call, the place that they go, but suddenly they had many more questions and they were looking for reassurance, and they got that from the pharmacist in a way that they might not have seen in the past.
Pharmacies will be part of this shift in the months ahead.
The pharmacists are at the ready.
Pharmacists say they are ready to put shots in the arms of Canadians.
For those of you who are listening and may not know, I also work with Geraldine since I'm on the board of the association. And that call came in at the end of March and they came straight to you, Geraldine, and said, help us. We need to now talk to pharmacists.
Absolutely. The campaign for vaccines came out of the blue, sort of like everything with COVID. One day it's this and the next day it's something entirely different. And the AstraZeneca vaccine, suddenly there was 18,000 shots that were time dated.
Time is ticking, with the shipment of doses set to expire at the end of the month.
5 days later, those shots would not have been used, would not have gone to benefit. And so we got a call from government saying, can you make it happen? Can you put these shots in arms? And I went to our board, including Pindy, and said, there is only one answer. Yes.
Absolutely correct. There was only one answer, and it was our chance.
Huge chance. And again, pharmacists stepped up and they've been there providing information and reassurance and the boosters. And if there's a fourth dose, it will be from pharmacists. So people who may not have had an encounter in the past with their pharmacist now have gotten to know them, have gotten to know the expertise that is there. And as importantly, government has said, these are people we can depend on. When we have a problem, we go to them, they say they'll solve the problem, and we did.
And I think that's the message that came out. I didn't know pharmacists did that. So I think it's given us a profile.
Absolutely. Was your family doctor there for you during the pandemic? Could you see your family doctor? No. People, I think, feel really let down by their family docs, but pleasantly surprised by their pharmacist and their naturopath. Naturopaths filled a big void doing pap smears and all kinds of stuff that doctors wouldn't show up to do. And pharmacists being that resource for people in kind of one-on-one counseling stuff that they would normally go to their physician for. And so as we in pharmacy ask for prescribing rights, et cetera, the public will in terms of preference for pharmacy has changed entirely.
Canadian pharmacies are able to administer millions of COVID-19 shots a week.
The silver lining during this pandemic, if one can say this, is that community pharmacists have improved their standing in the public's eye. A recent poll showed that 30% of Canadians interacted with their pharmacist more since COVID-19. And 3 in 4 believed we played a larger role in providing health-related services.
When asked, 93% of Canadians now say they would be happy to have their pharmacist as their first point of contact in the primary care system. Mm-hmm. Like, that's a profound number. 93%.
Yeah.
They didn't say doctor, they said pharmacist.
It was great how you brought everybody together and you brought in so many different players to this. You brought in the wholesalers, and yes, that's my day job. But even bringing in the different pharmacists, if it was chain or it was independent, and we all just came together. And that's not a cliche when it came to this profession. We all stepped up and came together.
Absolutely. I said, this is a public health emergency, and everybody needs to be part of that. Every pharmacy, big pharmacy, small pharmacy, this is about including and ensuring equal access, which is essential to a public healthcare system. And certainly our Minister of Health absolutely wanted that to happen, and as did Dr. Bonnie Henry. And so we've been able to deliver that all across the province.
We have the infrastructure and resources to quickly mobilize, and I am absolutely confident that every dose is going to get into an arm.
Well, thank you so much.
Pindy, it's been great.
It's been phenomenal. We've made this the Pharmacast, and it's short and sweet like me most of the time. Is there something that you would like to share with our pharmacist listeners? That's the audience.
I think that you need to show up when somebody needs you. It's not about showing up when it's convenient or it's good for you. It's about showing up when the public needs you. And we did that, and that is reputational money in the bank, because our legislators know that they can count on us, and our patients know that they can count on us. And that won't change. And that's important as pharmacists look at what else can they do? How else can they show up?
Yes. Thank you so much, Geraldine. And on behalf of us community pharmacists, I really, really do thank you for all of your work.
My pleasure and honor. Thank you very much, Pindy.
I hope you all enjoyed listening to today's episode of the Pharmacast with Pindy. I like to end each episode with a pearl of wisdom, something I call Pindy's practice pearl. Today's pearl: seize your scope of practice, move forward, embrace it, and champion being part of the healthcare system in Canada. Pharmacast with Pindy is produced by Everything Podcasts. Subscribe anywhere you discover your favorite podcasts. Thank you.